Hi there everyone, it's Misty here. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my word of the year for 2023. So if you're new to me, I don't know what channel this is going to go up on. I don't know if it's going to go up on all three of my channels, but if you're new to me, for the past 8 years, rather than setting New Year's resolutions, I've started doing a word of the year. Now, I believe this started as one little word by Ali Edwards, who's in the scrapbooking community. Don't quote me, I don't know for sure. But the gist of it is, rather than setting resolutions, because a lot of us, let's just be honest, we hit January gung-ho, it's a new year, we're going to do this, blah. And then by February 1st, we're like, we've moved on, right? Oh, sorry, the Justin's chair is very squeaky. So rather than doing that, you pick a word that's going to kind of be your theme or your mantra for that year. And then you can set goals in regards to that, or you can just, pick things that you want to focus on, etc. Like one year it was organization. My word was organization, and I put us on a budget, which we hadn't been on before. I organized my craft room. That didn't last very long. And then I took care of organizing, that must have been 2013 or 2014. I took care of organizing kind of my office at work, because my predecessor, is that the word? Left the files in disarray. So that was kind of my main goal for that year. One year it was like onward. I think that was 2018, because 2017 was just such a cluster of a year. And joy has been one. I can't remember. I've had a lot of them. I didn't pick one for 2022, and that's because the way 2021 ended, it was just an even in my mind. Like, I was trying to handle the trauma of that neurologist call, and I just couldn't. So over the past couple of months, I've been dealing with a lot of health issues. You guys know that. I shouldn't say health issues. It's been one issue, and that's my back. This nerve pain in my back and my leg has been what's really been bothering me. And I used the first few months of 2023, I bought a lot of stuff. So there's a handful of things I want to take care of for 2023. So when I was going back and forth on a word, I was like, consumption, like, is it going to be consumption, consuming, etc.? And I finally landed on mindful. So it's either going to be mindful or mindfulness. I really think it's going to be mindful. So I'm going to share with you kind of what my list is, like what I plan to keep an eye on, or what I plan to do for this word for 2023. Some of these kind of overlap, but I thought it would be a good way to talk about it and kind of share that with you. So I am setting a weight loss goal for 2023. It's not something I've done before. I've said, like, I'd like to be 299 by the end of the year, but if I'm not, I'm not, Excuse me, that's actually been my goal the last couple of years. It's my goal again right now. We'll see how we do. But as of filming this, I'm right around 340, and I'm down from 425. So I've lost a lot of weight. Well, I lost it and then gained it back, and I've lost it again. So with the back issues that I'm having, surgery is probably imminent. Like, I'm gonna have surgery. We already knew that, because like the ligament issues, but every single disc in my lumbar spine is herniated. Like, every single one of them. And when I had my back surgery back in 2019, my neurosurgeon was like, I really could fuse all of these, or give you, put in a rod or something. He's like, because we've got to do something to stabilize it. And I was like, I'm not quite ready for that. Like, I really wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for bifocals at the beginning. And now I was like, give me my bifocals. I need them. And now I'm like, okay, maybe we should really do something about my back. But with that, I don't want to have surgery at this size. I had back surgery at like over 400 pounds, and that was horrible. It was awful. It was hard. It was really, really hard. And surgery at any size is hard, but when it's a back surgery, and I know I'm going to have to be doing a lot of physical therapy and stuff, and I'm going to want to do more physical therapy than what I did before, I really need to get the weight off. So I am setting a weight loss goal. I would really like to lose 100 pounds in 2023. With that being said, I'm not going to obsess over it. I'm going to try not to obsess over it, but I want to be mindful of it. So that is the weight loss goal. And that's really the only like specific goal that I'm setting for 2023. So with this overarching theme of mindful, the first kind of category I want to be mindful of is my mental health. So I have not seen a therapist since January 2020. Once COVID, because I don't watch the news. 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 I can't handle it. Like, it gives me too much stress and anxiety, and I can't handle it. So I hadn't really heard of COVID until people started talking about it on Facebook. And so when I looked into it, and I was like, okay, this is scary. This is scary. And I'm not going to go see anybody because I'm on immune suppression therapy. And at the time, I was on 2 different immune suppression therapies. And I was like, I can't do this. So I stopped going anywhere. So that meant I stopped seeing my therapist. And I just haven't taken the opportunity to get a new one. I probably should have ended my relationship with my therapist after the first probably 6 or 8 months. But at the time, I called 16 different therapists. 16 different therapists. And none of them were taking patients, or they didn't take insurance, blah, 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 blah. So I'm a big believer in fate. I don't believe there's coincidences, etc. So I thought, okay, this is where I need to be. Well, no. I mean, maybe it wasn't where I needed to be to make sure that I understood I didn't like this, and this. But I don't feel like it was a helpful kind of therapy. So my first goal for 2023 really will be to try to find a therapist. I'm already on an antidepressant. I thought I might need to go on an anti-anxiety medication, but I feel like I'm doing okay with my anxiety right now. It's at a manageable level. We'll just leave it at that. But I definitely feel like I need to get into a therapist, and I need to make sure that I'm finding someone that I fit with and that we're actually working on whatever's going on with my brain. Tying into that is my emotional well-being. I know that I can't handle any kind of angst, I'm an empath. I've said that before. Some people believe in it, some people don't. But an empath is someone who either takes on someone else's emotions or you feel their emotion. Like, for me, I feel other people's emotions. Like, I am the type of person who will cry during a commercial, a movie. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. So when I watch movies or read a book or watch the news and there's a whole lot of strife and angst and stuff, it really does give me anxiety. And I've had a panic attack before watching a stupid movie. So I know that about myself. So I know that I have to stay away from that. But I also have to just allow myself to feel. And I think that is something that I need to work on in therapy, because I'm very hard on myself. You guys know this. And I've never put allowing myself to feel the emotions that I'm going to feel. Feel the emotions, try to handle whatever is happening, and then move on. But I want to be mindful of my emotions, checking in every day to see where I'm at. I think that's one thing that is missing in regards to like the spoonie community, chronic illness community, etc. is it's isolating. We have a tendency to like not share as what's actually going on because you feel like a burden, etc., etc. So I definitely want to be mindful of those kinds of things. And again, that kind of also goes back to mental health, and that's why I said a lot of these are pretty overlapping. Next, limits. It's hard to set limits. It's hard to set limits for yourself because that's not how we were raised. That wasn't how I was raised. And it's hard to set limits. It's really, really hard to set limits. But one that I've tried to do, and again, this ties back to emotional well-being, is saying, okay, like if it's my brother and he wants to talk, okay, is it something that's going to give me anxiety? Is it something that's going to make me mad? Is it going to cause this, this, and this? If yes, I have to decide if I'm in the right spot for that. And that goes also with friendships and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm not in the right place. Can I find you someone you can talk to, etc.? Because it all ties in together. But I have to be able to set limits. And that includes with family, that includes with friends, that includes with social media, that includes all of it. Just making sure that, because you can say no. You can say no. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on, is like, you can say no. And I have to be more mindful of saying no. I really have to be more mindful of saying no. Whoo boy, this one's a hard one. Self-talk. These a hard one. I've mentioned before that you really don't realize how much of your identity is wrapped up into something until that something is taken away. So when I had to leave my job in 2017, I literally didn't realize just how much of my identity was tied into that. And it makes sense because even at a young age, I can remember being 8 or 9 and knowing that I needed to get the hell out of Dodge. I didn't want to live the same life my mother led. I didn't want to be in that small town. Like, I knew that, and I knew the way to get out was, education, etc. So I've always been a very ambitious person. I've always done what I needed to do. I'm a Taurus. Like, if you go read personality traits of a Taurus, I basically encompass all of them. So I knew at a young age that I had to go. I had to get out. I had to go. So I made that happen. So when I had to leave my job, it was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, what happens now? And I really dealt with, feeling worthless, feeling like just, I haven't given myself grace. I am very, very hard on myself. I push myself too much. That's another limit I need to make sure is like, don't push yourself to exhaustion, Misty. It'll be okay. You know what I mean? That I need to be respectful of my body's limits, not only my emotional limits. But, so it's that self-talk. Well, you should be able to do this. Well, you should be able to do that. You follow this person. They have a chronic illness. They're doing this, this, and that. Or like, why don't you have more followers? Why don't more people like you? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I really have to tone that down. I really have to get to a point where I'm nicer to myself in my head. And I think all of us suffer from this, maybe more, some people more than others. I think if you're someone who was highly criticized as a child, or if you're someone who listened to your parent criticize themselves or criticize you, we, as adults, we write the CD for kids. Like, if you're someone who has a kid and you're always talking about how you're fat and you need to lose weight and what you hate about yourself, you're literally writing that into your kid as well. So, I have a lot of things that I need to rewrite. And I just have to be mindful of the way I talk to myself. I have to be mindful of the way I treat myself, because I deserve grace. I deserve, to be able to take a breath. I don't have to keep going and proving that I'm worth something and I need to be here. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something that I have to really focus on. And like, you're never going to do this. You can't do, like, it's just imposter syndrome. That's a big one. You're not talented enough. You can't do this. You'll never be talented enough. I don't know why you care. You can't do X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. So I really want to be mindful of that and just honestly give myself grace, because I am not someone who can do that. I've always been, super, like I said, super ambitious. Hell, I went to college. It took me 6 years to go through college. But I did an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. And every year of college, I worked 40 to 50 hours a week, and I went to school full time. For undergrad, that meant 16, 18 hours. That's basically what they would let me get away with. So I would do, 16, 18 credit hours in my undergrad, and then I would be working 40, 50 hours a week. I can remember I had friends, Wednesdays were my hardest day because we had class late into the night. And I would have a friend that would call me and say, hey, are you up? Have you had anything to eat? My first semester at OU, I drove 2 days a week, an hour and a half, 2 days, one way, 2 days a week to get to class. And one of those days I had a break from 10 a.m., 11 a.m. to 4. And I would go sleep in a building or sleep in my car. And I did that for an entire semester because I knew that I needed to get back into school. So all of these things. So I have to kind of be like, Misty, you can't do that. But, you just got to slowly roll and talk to yourself a little bit better. This one is a big one. So my coping mechanisms. And again, this ties in with going to therapy. But one thing that I want to get into the habit of is meditating. I would also like to find some chair yoga. If you're someone who has, or is disabled and you've done chair yoga, or you follow someone that does chair yoga, I can't get up and down off the floor. Even if I was 125 pounds, I wouldn't be able to get up and down off the floor because I literally cannot bend after having back surgery. I mean, I can bend, but then I get stuck. So I want to do some chair yoga. I just want, like, putting on makeup is very therapeutic and meditative as well. But I feel like even if it's at the end of the day or whatever, I feel like I want to take an opportunity to kind of just learn how to meditate, because I have to find new coping mechanisms, because my coping mechanisms have been shopping and they've been eating. So again, all three of these tie in together. So as far as shopping, it's like I have to be mindful of our finances. I have to be mindful of our budget. I have to be mindful of the things that we need to accomplish in 2023. Our washer broke and flooded the floors. So we have to replace all of the floors in our main areas. So because we can't tie it in because they don't make that laminate anymore. And we're thinking about going hardwood. Hardwood's hell of expensive. We're thinking about adding it into the master bedroom because we redid our master bath to make it wheelchair accessible. And I told Rob, I was like, it doesn't make any sense for us to have a hard surface in the hallway and then transition to carpet and then transition back to a hard surface in case I'm in a wheelchair. So all of this is like worst case scenario. But if we're going to do it, we might as well do all of it and get it done the way we want to. We're considering wood because you can sand it down, 20, 30 times and not have any issue with it, but it's a bigger expense. We need to have our pool worked on. Like, we have we need new windows. We want to look into solar. Like, we have a whole list of items. I need braces. So we have this whole list of items that we need to and want to get done. And, I have to limit myself on what I bring in. I also have to limit myself on what I bring in because it's like, am I using things? Like, am I using this? Have I used this? That's why Project Pan, if you're unfamiliar, again, I don't know which channel this is going to go up on. It may go up on all three, but on my Misty channel, I'm doing Project Panning, which is basically me either using up or getting use out of all the makeup that I have. And my goal is to get through most of it. On my JollyFatElf channel, I've been trying not to buy. Like, in 2022, I really didn't buy much product. And I'm very proud of that because I was like, Miss, you use what you have, So that's kind of what I'm trying to do as far as like spending. I'm not going to watch any more hauls. I'm going to try to skip, new makeup reviews or not, unfollow some of my favorite crafting companies because I get sucked into a sale or those kinds of things. So as far as, using shopping as a coping mechanism, I really have to turn that into something else. So whether that's, picking something out of my collection to work on, meditating, doing some yoga, something, I have to have a way. And that's, again, what I hope therapy will help with is that, here's something tangible that you can do when you feel that urge to shop. I feel like I've done a really good job, especially this Black Friday, because I was like filling up carts, and I'm like, Misty, no, walk away. No, ma'am, you don't need any of that. You need to walk away. And I did it. I bought some skincare. I did buy a little bit of makeup, but I talked about that before. I bought a strawberry shortcake collection. She was my favorite. And that's really literally the only makeup I've purchased since I think the 1st of October, which is good for the fat girl, let me tell you. So I bought some skincare and stuff like that, but I haven't really gone hog wild like I have in the past. So I definitely need to calm down on my shopping. And that's why I was thinking of the word consumption, because what I'm consuming as far as like consumables, what I'm consuming as far as watching, etc. But I went from mindful because I feel like I need more than just that. And then of course there's eating. And I say it all the time, like the only thing I have control over is what I put in my mouth. I can't control how I'm going to feel that day. I can't control the weather. I can't control anything but what I eat. And I mentioned before that I'm going to be setting up kind of a chronic illness planner symptom tracker thing, because since losing my diet, since the neurologist called and said, hey, just kidding, I misdiagnosed you 5 years ago, I spent most of 2022 trying to get answers, and I wasn't getting any answers. But one thing that Rob and I both noticed was I was having to repeat the same things over and over and over. He's like, maybe you should write that down. And I was like, I really should write that down. And then on top of that, I want to start tracking symptoms. So, I'm not going to, so hold on, Misty. I'm not going to be like, I'm not doing an elimination diet. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not doing an elimination diet. I'm not going to do the anti-inflammatory diet. One reason why is because a lot of that really bumps up my blood sugar, and that's something I definitely need to control. The last time I had an infusion with my rheumatologist, she runs blood work every time, and my inflammation markers were way down. But they had been way down because I'd stopped eating junk. And I've been eating junk again the last few weeks. And every time I told Rob on Saturday, I was like, no more talking about what we have in the freezer. No more talking about, like, please don't mention foods I shouldn't eat. And I know a lot of people will be like, you shouldn't have bad foods, yes food, no foods. And I think for most people, that's probably true. But for me, my body does not do well with carbohydrates. Even like vegetables and fruits just jack it up real high. The medication I'm on prevents me from overeating, but it doesn't prevent me from not eating foods that are garbage, like, hamburger helper or mashed potatoes, something like that. Things that I shouldn't be eating because of how it affects me. So I'm not going to be tracking my food consumption, but I am going to be more mindful of what I'm eating. I'm going to do my best to stick as low carb and keto as possible and go from there. And that's literally all I can do. So I want to be mindful of that as we get into the new year, as I, get into therapy and maybe have, some guidance and some help with that. Maybe I will consider an elimination diet. But as of right now, I'm just not in the mental health space because that just even adds an even bigger level of trying to track. And I already feel like I'm going to be tracking a ton of stuff. So I'm going to be tracking brain fog, my memory. Like, I have the worst memory. I keep saying that, and I don't know if people believe me or not, but it's bad. I'm going to be tracking like the weather, because I know a lot of people don't believe it, but the weather can really screw up your system. The pressure, if it's humid, those kinds of things. I'm going to be tracking my sleeping. I'm going to be tracking my pain level. I'm going to be tracking my, my mental health, how my mood is. I'm going to be tracking, I'm missing one. New symptoms. So it's basically tracking is going to be my full-time job because I want to have a book, a planner, etc., that I can take to a doctor and be like, here, I've gathered all this data. You figure it out. That's another thing that we may have to plan for, is a trip to the Mayo Clinic, and that's not cheap. When I called and got that appointment, they're like, you need to plan to be here 9 business days. You may not be here 9 business days, but you need to plan for 9 business days. That's a lot of money in lodging. We'd have to fly. We'd have to bring Roxy. Rob would have to take off work. And I know some people said that you can get some help from the Mayo Clinic. I need to look into that. I haven't again, because I can't, my window of doing anything like that is basically like mid-June to the 1st of October. Because those are the months where Rob isn't working an insane amount of overtime. So I need to be able to get in. And so it's a very specific time period. You have to, they only give you 6 or 8 months, I think. Once they've given you an appointment, you have this window. And if you can't make it into that window, then you have to apply to get in again. So again, like I said, I just want to have an entire, I just want to have the data. I want to have the data. So it'll be like tracking my pain levels, tracking where my pain is, tracking, if I experience any new symptoms, because there's been a couple of days where I've literally lost sensation in this part of my arm. And it's just weird. It's happened twice. And then I have days where it feels like an electric current is running up and down in my arms. I have days where my muscles, you can't touch my arm because the muscles are that tender. So I have days like that, and I just want to make sure that I'm keeping track of everything. Like I said, I want to track new symptoms if they happen to pop up. So it's going to be like a full-time job, and I need a therapist I need to have that cushion, because I know that this is going to be very, very difficult on me mentally, because my life changed overnight. It literally changed overnight. In October of 2016, I went to bed fine. When I woke up the next morning, I was not fine. And I haven't been fine ever since. And, like I said, having to leave my job, having to be basically homebound. And this was before COVID, but ever since COVID, being terrified. Rob and I are still some of the only people that wear masks in public, but I'm terrified of getting sick because I think sickness would be like a death sentence. And that's why it's just like, and that's why I'm like, I can't allow myself to become super fixated on what's wrong, but I have to be super diligent and super mindful so I can figure out what's wrong. At this point, it's not like I want a diagnosis. It's not like I'm dying to get a diagnosis, but if I get a diagnosis, maybe there's a treatment. Maybe there's something that we can do that will make things better, and I will have just a little bit better quality of life, and I won't have to rely on Rob so much, and I won't have to, and that's another thing I want to be mindful of is my marriage, our relationship, because the past few years it's kind of been like a caregiver, not patient, but you know what I mean, like he has to help me get dressed every day. He's the one that puts on my lidocaine patches. When I had that abscess and the wound care clinic doctor was like, well, I was like, nope. He's not doing it. I don't want him to do it. I don't want him to have to do it. They wanted him to pack it. And I was like, nope. And like, if I have to have back surgery, I'd want to, see if I could do it like at a rehab center. That way he wouldn't have to deal with it because he already has to deal with it so much. So I really want to make sure that I'm filling his cup. You know what I mean? Like I'm being as good a wife as I can be. And that's another thing I really struggle with. Like ever since we started dating, he was like, hey, he's like, I want to make a deal with you. And I said, okay. And this is literally how the conversation went. He was like, if you will do the cooking, I will do everything else. I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. He's like, I can't cook. So if you will do the cooking, I will do everything else. And that's basically how our relationship has been the entire time we've been together. I cook and he does everything else. And so on the days that like I literally physically can't cook, it really bothers me. And I feel like I'm being a horrible wife. And again, this all goes back to, the therapy and stuff like that. So another thing that I want to be mindful of is our relationship. And I want to make sure that I'm filling his cup. I want to make sure that, I'm emotionally available for him. I want to make sure that, he feels loved and he doesn't feel like he's just a caretaker. And that's definitely something that's hard. And I think that's true for anybody, struggling with a chronic illness, chronic pain, or people who have to take care of somebody because it changes his life too. Like there's no being spontaneous. Like, losing friendships because I can't go and do things anymore. Like you can't just say, hey, I'm outside. Do you want to run to the store? No, I can't do that. Like, do I need to take a walker? Do I need to take the wheelchair? I can't drive more than like a mile, maybe 2 miles at the most. So it's like, does Rob need to drive me? And it's just all of these things. And it can be really difficult. It really can be difficult. And it goes back to me feeling like a burden or feeling worthless because it's like, he would have a regular life if he wasn't married to me. But as he said, he's like, I loved you. I married you for better or for worse. And he said, I love you and I'm not going anywhere. So but that can be really hard. And that's why I'm like, I need to be mindful of our relationship and make sure that I'm filling his cup. And his love language is like touches and stuff like that. So I have to, and that doesn't come naturally to me because that wasn't what I grew up with. Like my grandmother was very tactile and very, affectionate, but my mother never was. Like I literally don't remember my mother telling me she loved me until I was like a teenager. And then she told me she hated me. So there you go. That just doesn't come naturally to me. And again, like if I'm hurting or in pain or if I don't feel good, it's like I don't want to be touched. I literally tell you guys, I'm like a turtle. I will dig a hole and bury myself in there. So I'm just not bothering anybody. And that I think a lot of us who struggle with chronic pain, chronic illness, etc., feel that way. And it's really hard. So kind of the last thing on my list is self-care. And I think self-care has gotten a bad rap, like this toxic positivity kind of culture that's been created. But I think, and it's not just for women, anybody needs to take a few minutes out of their day to take care of them. I do that in a couple of different ways. I read a lot. I read a lot. I've been rereading a lot. Like one of my favorite authors came out with a new series in August, and I'm on their art team, Advanced Review Copies, so you can, we get the stories first, so we can leave a review first day. I've read that 3-book series 20 times. 20 times since August. Because again, and that goes back to the angst. Like, it's just such a good, just, there's no angst. It's just, and I read gay romance. I read gay romance. So I read, about gay men being in love. That's the genre that I've landed on, and I love it. And I've been reading it for about 5 or 6 years now. And I read mostly romance because I can't handle angst. So I don't read mysteries, murders, all the things. So, but reading is something that I do for myself. Like, it'll say, like, last week you averaged 20 hours or whatever, 15 hours a day on your phone. Well, I have the Kindle app on my phone. And if I'm not doing something else, then I'm reading. The makeup, like I mentioned, sitting down here is very meditative for me. It's just time for me. And it's not like Rob doesn't give me time. He sits at the on the table all day working. So I have plenty of time for myself. But like I said, I'm always trying to make sure I'm busy doing something else. Because again, busy means I'm putting stuff out, and that means I have worth. And again, something I need to deal with in therapy. So that's it. So the word of the year is mindful. I don't know how, like, I may do a monthly check-in. I don't really know how this is going to go. I haven't thought past the planner, to be quite honest. But yeah, and I was going to read you guys the definition I found that I really, really liked. Let me see if I can find it again. Probably not. Tell me you wear bifocals without telling me. Show me you wear bifocals without showing me that you wear bifocals. God dang it, mindful. I hate autocorrect because it likes to change real words to fake words. I don't know how that happened. So the definition is conscious or aware of something, or focusing one's awareness on the present moment, especially as part of a therapeutic or meditative technique. So, and I think that's another thing, I have to live in the present. So because it's really hard to get wrapped up in the past. It's really hard to get wrapped up in the future that we're probably not going to have. Because again, all those hopes and dreams died when this happened too. Like, we were going to go to Disney on our 10th anniversary. We had all of these plans, but I had to leave my job, and I left my income. So we're a 1-income family. I thought we were going to lose our house. So it was like, I grieved the past, I grieved the present, but I really grieved the future, because our future doesn't look anything like I thought it would. I wanted to travel. I thought we'd be able to redo the kitchen by now. Like, there are so many things that I thought we would be able to do that we just can't do because it's just not financially feasible. And again, that goes back to, I need to be mindful of my spending. So yeah, that's it. This was kind of a deep now, deep thoughts with Stuart Smalley. Was that it? Stuart Smalley? This is kind of deep, but again, it's just, I just feel like it's a better way for me to kind of work through 2023. And I think mindful is the word that I should have picked, and it's the word that I'm going to go with. And hopefully it's the word that helps me make 2023 much better than 2022 was, because 2022 has been one of the hardest years. And there was a time where I thought maybe that was it. And I am getting better from that, but it's hard. It's hard when you live in pain every single day. And there's, I'll pop up a meme. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it talks about, you don't know the pain I'm in, or something like, I don't remember, because you can't know unless you experience it. And it's really easy to go like, well, you don't look sick. Well, you look fine. So it's hard. Having a chronic illness is just awful. It's really awful, because not only do you deal with the illness, but you also do with, again, like, you lose, like, relationships change, friendships change, what you're able to do changes. It's just a lot. So yeah. But I want to be more positive. I want 2023 to be better. I want 2023 to be better. And I like I said, I think getting in the right headspace, being mindful of all these things, and just taking one day at a time, living in the present is really what I have to do. All right, friends. So thank you so much. So if this is on my Mystic channel, sorry, it's a little deep, or JollyFatElf channel, sorry, it's a little deep, but it's definitely something that I like to share. And if you've picked a word of the year, let me know. If you've never heard of it before and it's something that you're interested in, also let me know. I appreciate you, no matter what channel you're watching this on. I really do appreciate you. You guys have kind of kept me going this year, so that's why I really poured myself into like project painting and my holiday card series. I took a lot of months off from crafting because I just wasn't in the right mental health headspace. But yeah. So like I said, I will try to do maybe quarter check-ins to let you guys know how I'm doing or what I've accomplished, those kinds of things. You'll have to let me know if you're interested in hearing updates, really. And maybe they'll all go on my At Home with Misty channel. I don't know. I haven't decided. I need to sit down and kind of just, that's another thing I need to be mindful of. My posting, what I'm going to post, what I want my content to look like. So, yeah. I'm going to go because I've been talking now for like 3 hours and I'm going to lose my voice. So, I appreciate you wherever you're watching this. I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. And again, if you've never done this before, feel free to pick a word. And it can be something simple. It can be something a bit more complex like this. You can set goals or not set goals. It's completely up to you. And that's why I really love it. All right, friends, I love your faces. I hope you have a good day, night, weekend, wherever you are. And I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.